Trump's got an Epstein problem. This is the future of garbage in Eric Adams, New York City. Yeah, Trump's had an Epstein problem for quite a while, but it just got a lot worse today. It's been a very hot day, and I wanted to get out and talk to everybody about this before the day ended. I know a lot of people saw that cabinet meeting, you know, the press gaggle after the cabinet meeting, where this guy asked Trump about Epstein. I mean, I think it was an okay thing to ask. It was an important thing to ask. And Trump's reaction has really upset a lot of people, including me. Now, some people are saying, oh, Trump is on the list. And, you know, Elon Musk said he's in the Epstein files. Well, that could be. I mean, I don't know, you know. We're talking about crimes, so we do have to give the guy the presumption of innocence until he's proven guilty. It certainly seems like he's involved in covering it up. I mean, why the hell haven't we seen these files? There's only so much trusting of the plan that we can do before we become idiots. So someone here is just saying, I think Trump is on the list. We're missing a big part of the picture. I mean, and then, okay, so then somebody else says if Trump was on the list, Democrats would have released it years ago. Maybe, but isn't a gun to the head much more persuasive than shooting someone? I mean, if you want somebody to do something, that's the thing with this bribery, and also it's kind of mutually assured destruction, right? I thought about that a lot, because at first I did think if Trump was on the list, Democrats would have told us. But Democrats are on the list too, you know? They probably would all rather, oh, what does she think of the assassination? They probably would all rather just not talk about it and agree, okay, let's not let it out. Now, people who were watching the other day saw there was a little bit of a jam up happening. It's 93 at 5 o'clock. It's been a hot, hot day. Eric Adams even said, hey folks, it's gonna be hot. And he's dumb as hell, so, you know, if he knows it's gonna be hot, it's gonna be hot. I believe I've got the problem that was plaguing the broadcast the other day sorted out. I was so sad about that because that was an important broadcast and they got screwed up. But it should be fixed now. So yeah, incredibly disappointing response from Trump, because it also just made no sense. Why would he not, when that question got asked, why not just turn to Pam Bondi and say, do you want to answer that, and say nothing else? I think the big problem most people have is that his answer seems so guilty, right? It's like, is that from Macbeth, where he says, methinks thou doth protest too much? Because he's like, oh no, we don't want to talk about Epstein. Why do you want to talk about that? We got so much other stuff to talk about. It reminds me of Ivan Raiklin, when I ran into Ivan Raiklin and I was asking him, people, I guess, didn't know what I was talking about at the time. I said to Ivan, are you going to bring up something that's going to make me file a bar complaint? He knew what I was talking about. I was talking about him and our previous meeting on a live stream where he mentioned Nina Jankowicz's name in an effort to get me jammed up. And he's like, oh, why do you want to talk about that? It's like, well, because you were trying to get me thrown in jail. So people want to avoid talking about important stuff, and they avoid it and avoid it and avoid it, and then you're like, hey, what the hell ever happened to that? And they're like, oh, why are you asking about it? Like there's something wrong with you. That's what pissed people off about what Trump said today, is that if you would have just released the damn files, which you already promised you were going to do, we wouldn't be asking about it. So what the hell is up? I mean, again, I will not jump to the conclusion that that means he did something. What's up, dude? You just coming over and sticking that in my face and saying nothing? And now you're gonna follow me, probably? What's wrong with you, man? So here we got a jackass in black. What's up? Yeah, why don't you stay there and I'll go over here? Dude, this kid is a fucking asshole, is the problem we've got there. So is he following me? The point I was getting at is, I'm not going to jump to a conclusion that this means that Trump did or did not do anything in particular with Jeffrey Epstein, but it does provide, what is this idiot saying? It does provide a lot of evidence that he's participating in the cover-up. He's covering it up. And we have to ask why, or he's going to completely lose all credibility. I don't think anybody I can think of has lost more credibility more quickly than Trump did today. I mean, it was astonishing the way he acted. So the reason why I wanted to come up this way is I wanted to take everybody on a little bit of a tour while we contemplate this very troubling information. I want to take everybody on a tour of these hotels that were previously occupied by illegal migrants to New York City. Now remember, there was a big kind of bicycle gang over here. The cops are still here, which is interesting, but we have only one bicycle. There used to be, this was jammed out with electric bikes and bicycles and all kinds of people getting involved in deliveries. This is the Stewart Hotel. People didn't hear too much about this. It got a D for energy efficiency. I think it would get a D on a lot of other things too. We still have the illegal food vending going on over here. I don't know why they allow that. It really should not be allowed. But we don't have the huge crowds of migrants around this hotel that we did once have. Eric Adams' future of garbage at work right here. It's just filthy. You know, what did they say the budget for New York City was? 1.15 billion? 1,000 million? I remember somebody broke it down to the amount per person. It was an incredibly large amount. I just think they should, you know, utilize some technology, get some self-driving garbage dumpsters around here so that wouldn't that be an admirable goal, instead of some idiot like Zoran Mondami saying, oh, we're going to seize the means of production and have Soviet-style city-run supermarkets. What if he said we're going to put out a contract to Ford or Tesla or Waymo or whoever to make, we're going to put out a contract to Ford or Tesla or Waymo or whoever to make some self-driving garbage dumpsters, and that the goal is clean streets by 2030, 2050. It feels clean, unlike now where it feels filthy. That would be some kind of a positive goal. And so that's the thing. I think people are pissed off with Trump because he said, oh, we're going to release the Epstein files. And then it's been nothing but bullshit since he got into office with that. Those stupid binders, Pam Bondi, basically doing nothing. I mean, they're like, oh, because also, I see, last night it was weird. Trump had this statement where he said, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are doing great. They're back to fighting crime. Are they? I don't know, are they? Because they let Eric Adams off the hook. They didn't, but the Department of Justice did. Let Eric Adams off the hook, and the city is a damn mess. What'd you think of the assassination attempt? The city is a damn mess, not just garbage-wise, but now, I don't know, what would have happened if they had, you know, put Eric Adams on trial and put him on jail? People notice that you can't do that kind of stuff. You're right, and people are saying there is no list. So that's the other thing. I've known for a long time that Dan Bongino is a liar and a loser, and that Kash Patel is a liar and a loser. And I'm not just like looking at them and deciding I don't like them. I don't do that. A lot of people send me messages, maybe on x.com @JG_CSTT, where they're like, this is all a game. Trump is playing a trick. How do you know? You don't know. Now it says poor connection again. Should be a good connection. But I'm just looking at evidence. The reason I think Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are idiots is because they were both involved with Stephen Biss, and I had personal interactions with Stephen Biss where he was trying to destroy my life through lawfare, trying to take all my money, trying to get me jammed up. By the way, it's not just about money. Once they get you into court, they're trying to do all kinds of things, like Ivan Raiklin. I mean, Nina has been to the police violated a restraining order, which, depending that you get arrested, Virginia, and I'm sure that's getting your ass kicked. And this is not some at night. George is mentally ill. How would you have felt if for the past 8 years somebody was trying to destroy your business? Imagine you owned a restaurant and somebody came by there every night and, you know, told everybody not to eat there and made a mess out front and smashed the window and broke the oven and made it so you couldn't open the next day and so you couldn't operate the place. Bad reviews on Yelp, just expending all their energy. Call whoever owns the building and get you kicked out of the lease. That's what they're doing, shutting down Odyssey, suing Patreon, suing Subscribestar, all these things. What is Trump doing about that? What is Trump doing? I went and did all that stuff to prove that Boasberg was violating the Constitution. I tried to send it to Trump's people, his lawyers, Pete Hegseth. That was a Signalgate case where they were trying to jam up Pete Hegseth to get him to resign. I created a large amount of evidence that Boasberg had violated the canons of judicial conduct. I said, hey, if the judicial branch wants to overreach and try to control the executive branch, why can't the executive branch fight fire with fire and go in there and arrest him? Say he's impersonating a federal officer. I mean, it would be on the news and people would be outraged, but this is the kind of thing he could do. What the judges are doing is outrageous. You know, even when the Supreme Court says these district court judges aren't allowed to do these injunctions, they're finding ways around it. Why couldn't Trump and what's her name, Pam Bondi, and what's her name, Pam Bondi, and, you know, where's Judge Janine? I sent her a ton of stuff. Why couldn't they, you know, follow up on this and try and exercise this theory? Now, what the hell is going on here? Brabus, look at that. So we're back over here at the Walcott Hotel. I haven't been here in a while. Remember, there was a lot of craziness going on over here. With the Army, we still don't know what was going on with the Army. Tren de Aragua, basically taking over this neighborhood. Let's go look and see what's going on in the Walcott Hotel. Somebody just exited. It looks like he's delivering food. There's a sign. What does the sign say? No smoking, no trespassing. They also got a D. Let's see what's going on in there. The Walcott Hotel. It's doing. Sketchy going on at the Walcott. Much more low key though. No, very weird. Is being covered up. Crazy. A Twitter thread. I like these Twitter threads. More attention than just. If you're following me, excuse me, on X, not Twitter anymore, at JG_CSTT. Because see, this cover-up has been going on forever, and Trump, we have to face facts. If he's not going to release this information, then he lied to us during the election, during the campaign. He was like, yeah, sure, I'll release it. You know what, in retrospect, when you go back and look at that stuff, he's not speaking about it with so much confidence. Somebody was playing an interview that he did with Lex Friedman, and he asked him if he would release the Epstein files, and he said, I wasn't on the island. It's like, wait a minute, nobody asked you about the island. We asked you if you're going to release the files. Anyway, so it took me back to Dershowitz. I want people to watch this clip where I'm interviewing Dershowitz again, because remember what this was. This is a while ago now. This is 5 years ago. This was maybe September, I think, 2020, 5 years ago. So it was kind of well into the COVID pandemic, and we were talking about the forced vaccination. Because remember, my first encounter with Dershowitz was in like May of 2020, when the pandemic first started. And I had asked him if it was constitutionally allowed for Governor Cuomo to close down the park when these old ladies had a permit to have a calm rally. They were actually peaceful, just sitting around with signs and talking to people, not fighting. Or I think that first one might have been pre-George Floyd even, so it was like before we had gotten accustomed to insane riots all the time. But anyway, I asked Dershowitz if it's legal to close down the park, and he was like, of course, they could even force you to be vaccinated. So again, it's interesting when you ask somebody one thing and they answer with another. But during that obnoxious interview, I said to Dershowitz, well, where the hell in the Constitution does it say that they can do that to you? And he's talking about the police powers and this and that. And he told me to go look up a Supreme Court case called Jacobson v. Massachusetts, where this Swedish dude, Jacobson, or I guess he was American, he immigrated from Sweden, or I don't know what his immigration status was, but his issue was he had the vaccine in Sweden and he had a negative reaction, so he didn't want to have to take it. There was some kind of smallpox vaccine mandate in Massachusetts, and they wanted to fine the dude $5. I did look up the case after Dershowitz told me. He was like, go look it up. He's so obnoxious, Dershowitz. But I did look it up, and I thought that he was incorrect, because there was a lot of differences between Jacobson v. Massachusetts, which was like in 1915 or something like that, 1916, and what was happening in 2020. Because in 1916, the smallpox vaccine was the first vaccine anybody ever made, and it had been around for like 100 years already, and almost everybody had it. It was determined to be effective in fighting the disease and not having too many side effects, if any. And there was a large body of medical knowledge where there was a big consensus about it. It wasn't a new experimental thing that nobody knew if it was going to work or not, or if it was even functioning as a vaccine. But what I'm about to show you is Dershowitz returned to the show for me to say, yeah, hey, I did look that up, and I disagree with you. And for the first part of the interview, I was explaining all that to him. And I said, Professor Dershowitz, I was also very respectful to him at the outset of the thing, calling him Professor Dershowitz, being deferential to, he's older than me, and obviously I'm not even a lawyer. He's a professor, so he knows more about this stuff than I do. I was trying to be polite and professional. And I basically said the first thing we need to do is establish, what a vaccine is. And I went to the CDC, and they had their definition there. People can go. You can see the video still on Odyssey, even though Odyssey's payment processor is not working unless you get their cryptocurrency. It's not theirs, but it is a cryptocurrency. People who are currently on Odyssey have been getting the sponsor exclusive shows for free for the past 3 months. So I hope that people will join on another platform or send a sponsorship payment perhaps to paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. Thanks to everybody who's been doing that. You can also become a sponsor on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, because in a few days, Odyssey is going to stop allowing the sponsor exclusive videos to play unless you're subscribed with this AR cryptocurrency. So anyway, I was explaining to Dershowitz that we need to first define what we're talking about. And the CDC said a vaccine was an inoculation that prevented the recipient from getting the disease or transmitting the disease. Yeah, we got more weed stores opening up now. Eric Adams closed them all down, and I've noticed that there's been a spate of new weed stores opening. So as I'm reading this definition from the CDC, I didn't make it up. Dershowitz said, no, I disagree with that. And I was like, listen, man, this is the CDC. You're a lawyer. You're not allowed to disagree with what they say a vaccine is. You can't come into court. See, lawyers think they can just decide whatever the hell they want, and then that's what we're going to do. And remember, lawyers become judges. So this is basically what Nina's pal, Judge Judith Wheat, decided. She just decided, it doesn't matter what the statute says harassment or stalking is. We're just going to decide that Jason harassed and stalked Nina, and we're going to hit him with a 2-year restraining order. It's terrible. Oh yeah, by the way, I released the transcript from Dershowitz v. Goodman. I've been under court order. Obviously, if I had done that prior to the 23rd of June, I would have been in violation of the thing. But now, people who are sponsors on any of the platforms, certainly on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, on Subscribestar and Patreon, and also on X, go to the articles tab on X. You can read the whole entire transcript from the June 8th, 2023 hearing of Dershowitz v. Goodman. Ivan Raiklin was in attendance for that hearing. He's very, very familiar with the proceedings. He knew exactly what the court order said. He's an attorney. He deliberately tried to violate it to get me in trouble, and then now Nina's lawyers used his violation of it in 2025 to try to jam me up. So I don't know, are they in cahoots? Again, I could jump to that conclusion, but see, having to file all these things in court have helped me to become a little more discriminating than sometimes people are on YouTube or Twitter. A lot of people are saying like, Trump said that crap in the cabinet meeting today, so that means he was banging little girls on the island. Well, I don't think we can come to that conclusion. It's certainly suspicious behavior, and it certainly contributes to evidence that would prove that he's involved in covering up whatever happened with Jeffrey Epstein. And we don't know why he's doing that. We need more evidence. This basically demands that he release whatever it is they have, or we're just not going to trust him. I think anything else would be jumping to a conclusion. Okay, so I'm also not ready to completely throw Trump away, but this is the most disappointing thing that he's done. And my patience is wearing thin. What am I going to do? We get rid of him? And you can't. I think he's probably going to lose support in the midterms, lose voters, particularly while Elon Musk is bringing about this American party. How is he screwing this up? I just don't understand why Trump appears to be constantly giving his enemies ammunition against him. It doesn't make any sense, right? Like where he says things like, I'm going to be a dictator on day one, and then they use that against him forever. Well, I should have asked her what she thought of the assassination. She wanted to be on the show. So anyway, I was talking to Dershowitz about the vaccine. He said a lot of stupid stuff. And then we got into this conversation. I want people to pay attention. When I start yelling at him and I'm about to throw him off of the show, listen closely to what Dersh is saying. Okay, you say believe science, but be skeptical of scientists. What studies have you seen that indicate that these masks are actually helpful? Because Robert Kennedy indicated that they could increase the spread of the disease.
Now you're being an idiot. The idea that
okay, so if you're going to call me an idiot, Mr. Dershowitz, I could be equally offensive with you. You, sir, are
tell
lying to the public, you are spreading
About
misinformation,
mass
and you lied about the letter you wrote on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein. I think that's why this mandatory vaccination issue has been such a big deal. You have no right to be telling people what to do as far as mandatory vaccines. And as a matter of fact, a Freedom of Information request sent to the governor's office revealed that they have no information on the efficacy of masks or face coverings. So you are talking about arbitrary facts that you are injecting into the public for a malicious purpose, and I object to that, sir.
Wear masks. Everybody says wear masks. Wear masks. Now tell
You
me
know
about
what?
Jeffrey.
You called me an idiot. Dershowitz,
Now-
you're an idiot.
Now
You're
tell
off
me
the
about-
show. Get the hell out of
Tell
here,
me
man.
about
Stop
the
spreading disinformation.
letter.
Stop
Tell me
being a
about
jerk.
Letter.
Call
Tell
me an
about
idiot.
Letter,
The letter
okay?
that you don't
tell me
remember?
about-
You said you would debate anyone who accused you of having Alzheimer's disease. And I asked you about the letter that you signed on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein to Alexander Acosta that got him the sweetheart plea deal for raping girls. It was reconfigured as soliciting prostitution. And when I asked you about Alexander Acosta, specifically saying that he was told to keep his hands off of Epstein because he was intelligence, you had no recollection of it. Lie? What's a lie? What's a lie?
He was told to keep his hands off Epstein because of intelligence. Epstein had nothing to do with intelligence.
That's
You're
what
just
Acosta said.
lying to your
I'm not
people
lying.
over
That is what
and
Acosta
over.
said.
You're lying. It's not true. You're
Now
lying
you're
about
accusing me of
masks.
lying.
If
Oh.
I have another minute on this show, please, everybody, wear masks, keep social distance, seriously consider taking the vaccine, and don't listen to idiots like this who are endangering your life by telling
Dershowitz,
you
fuck you.
not-
You're off the show. You're an unprofessional asshole. I love that. How often do you get to hear somebody actually tell Dershowitz what he should be told? But the important part there is, first of all, as you can see, I was being polite with him. I was trying to be polite with him. And then he says, now you're being an idiot. I was citing what Robert Kennedy had published. The guy is now the director of the National Institute of Health and is also an attorney. So, I mean, he's at least as smart as Dersh, and I think probably a lot smarter. Why am I being an idiot for citing what he said? He has some, research or something. He has evidence, I guess. Now, wait a minute. We want to go to that Roosevelt Hotel, see what's going on over there. So he starts in saying I'm an idiot. What kind of a way is that to have a debate? Is that what they teach you at Harvard? Why didn't he say, well, Robert Kennedy's study that he's citing has this problem or that problem? He just starts in with I'm an idiot. And then, so immediately I got pissed off, called him an idiot. And the thing that's particularly weird that I really didn't notice until yesterday is that normally when somebody is yelling at you and calling you an idiot and about to hang up the phone on you, you'd think somebody like Dershowitz, who should be above the fray with somebody like me, right? Professor emeritus at Harvard, I'm just some schmuck on YouTube or whatever. He should just not care if I'm going to hang up the phone on him. But he says 5 times in a row, like a maniac, he says, tell me about the letter to Jeffrey Epstein. Tell me about the letter to Jeffrey Epstein. Tell me about the letter to Jeffrey Epstein. Like he's super interested in wanting to know what I know about that letter to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, excuse me, not letter to Jeffrey Epstein, letter about Jeffrey Epstein that I said was written to Alexander Acosta. That wasn't completely correct. So this is the letter. This is an excerpt from the letter. The letter is supposed to be something like 23 pages long, but we've only ever seen this tiny little super low resolution half of the first page. This is a letter to Jeffrey Sloman and Matthew Menchel. Now, you might say, oh, Jason, see, Dershowitz got you. He didn't remember because you were talking about a letter to somebody else. But no. I first was like, oh, maybe I did screw up. But then I looked into it some more. And what I found out was there's been a lot of people who have written about the fact that if you are an expert criminal defense attorney and you're trying to get some high-end criminal off the hook, you know that the way to do it is to go to the assistant U.S. attorneys and convince them of whatever it is your legal theory that you're trying to convince them of, because they are the ones who may, see, here's another weed place. They are the ones who make the indictment decisions or the charging decisions, and they write the indictments and all that sort of stuff. Like, there have been a number of people who have written law review or whatever kind of things where they're saying like it's a rookie mistake. I mean, this is what I did. I went and sent letters to Jeanine Pirro. Whoa, what did she think of the assassination? And nothing happened. So I guess I should have found out who the assistant U.S. attorney is, but that's probably some Democrat who's not going to help me. So that's the thing. They have this system super rigged up, but the point is that letter was to the assistant U.S. attorneys who were beneath Alexander Acosta. And what I just found out about yesterday is this other letter. Now, this has been around for a while, but I haven't heard about it before. This is from Alexander Acosta to the Epstein legal team. Kenneth Starr, Dershowitz, there's a whole laundry list of famous lawyers who were defending Epstein on this like dream team of lawyers. So this is from the U.S. Attorney's Office from Alexander Acosta, all about how pissed off he is that they're basically letting Epstein off, this USC, 18 USC section 2255. Somehow, again, I'm not a lawyer. People who are lawyers are going to know more about this, but what they were trying to do was to lock it up so that none of the victims could bring civil litigation against Epstein, because remember with OJ, even after they resolved the criminal part of it, Ron Goldman's father still sued OJ, and so other evidence can come out in court through civil litigation. These lawyers, they're playing 5D chess. They all know how lawfare works and how, clever adversaries can jam them up in court and use all kinds of legal process, sort of how, Nina did to me. They know that in the Commonwealth of Virginia, there's this very opaque handling of these, when you try to get a restraining order against somebody, it's remarkably unconstitutional. What I've learned since having it all happen to me is that there's been historically a lot of criticism in the legal community of Virginia and how they handle this. The docket is totally sealed, even to the participants. So while it was going on, I was having a lot of difficulty. I was trying to do an appeal, and I just it wasn't clear when things were hitting the docket in the court. It wasn't like federal court where everything is on there. Like today, I've gotten a number of emails from the Second Circuit Appellate Court about George's mentally defective brother and all these defective filings that he's making. As a matter of fact, right before I came on here, I got an email from them saying that, his motion, there was an order on his motion, which I thought they said earlier today his motion was defective. I don't know, he's filing so much different stupid crap, it's hard to keep it straight. But they're saying that this is now being referred, his motion to supplement the record on appeal, it's being referred to the panel to determine for the merits of his appeal. I think, and I don't know, I'm not an attorney, but if I had to read the tempo, or rather the temperament of the Second Circuit, I think they're getting sick of him and his nonsense. I could be wrong, I've been wrong before, but he's filing a lot of nonsense. Anyway, my point is, the way Nina's whole lawfare assault on me worked out seemed like she was being very carefully advised by lawyers who were extremely familiar with that process of, how to jam up somebody who is, doing journalistic reporting on you about things that you don't like, but they're allowed to do, and how to essentially criminalize what they're doing and at least make them afraid to continue doing it. Obviously, the ultimate goal is to get them thrown in jail for it. So I know a lot more about it. I know a lot more about it now than I did 2 years ago. Nina, when she entered this precipice to reopen the thing to try to put it on me for another 2 years, it granted me an opportunity to do a lot of things in court that I couldn't do otherwise. So we're going to try to get it turned back around on her like a boomerang. Is this Elon Musk right here? So there's the Roosevelt over there. And see, there's something being built over here. Curious about this. Hotel where the FBI asking them all about Peter Smith. It's all, and for us be the reason. I'm saying, you know, Trump obviously helped Epstein files. I think it would be pretty safe to conclude that he's involved with the cover-up. I don't know that that allows us to conclude that it means that he's personally done something to children. Now, some people say, oh, well, if he's part of the cover-up, he's covering up to protect people who have harmed children. That might be true. That's a very difficult thing to contend with. A lot of people have lost a lot of confidence in Trump. It's a bad day, I have to say. Now, so what the hell is going on over there with that big van? See, there's still weird stuff going on over here. Let's cross the street and see what's up. Oh yeah, wait a minute. We get bad radio interference down over there, almost as if they're using a jammer or something. Yeah, see, it's already starting over here. Are they using an IMSI catcher to stop people from covering this live? Is this an army vehicle? What is in that vehicle? Nobody's having coffee at the Black Fox Coffee Company. Remember, Lee Harvey Oswald worked for the Riley Coffee Company, and his tax returns are still classified. You cannot see Lee Harvey Oswald's tax returns. So we had the army operating out of this thing. It says, por favor, no encender las bicicletas. Don't lock the bicycles. Don't chain bikes to the scaffolding. We have moved. Please use the entrance of 45 East 45th. Oh, look, it's written in all these different languages. And they've added ATA Rona DHUHS. What is all that? Yeah, it's a very bad, very disappointing day, people are saying. So that's interesting. We didn't lose signal this time. Maybe there was a signal disruption happening that isn't happening anymore. But we definitely had the army in this building. So that's interesting. We didn't lose signal this time. Maybe there was hanging around all the time. Bicycles. That's been cleared up. Where has all that gone? Maybe people have been self-deporting. I don't know. So, I mean, I make a lot of jokes about asking some of these leggy women what they think about the assassination attempt, but isn't it kind of weird that even Trump doesn't seem to care about the assassination attempt? Like, who tried to kill him? He doesn't want to know more about that? He's praising Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, but they're doing nothing. Yeah, I mean, this street is totally cleared up. You know, we've got no bicycles, no bicicletas chained to the scaffolding or anything like that. And then what is going on with the Roosevelt Hotel? Are they renovating it? It doesn't look like it. I don't see any. Here, this was an office that was doing something. This is just all. Very. That's it. Epstein files. Trump says she voted. Exactly. Epstein and the terrible crime being thrown in jail. I mean, still has his case going on. Why didn't they drop that? Why haven't they indicted? I mean, it's such a long list of people that we could go through who they should be indicting, and haven't. I mean, look, it's pretty disturbing to kind of contemplate what Jeffrey Epstein did, but almost as disturbing, or just also very disturbing, is just this notion that there's no damn justice, that some scumbag like Jeffrey Epstein can get Dershowitz and every lawyer under the sun to write this letter, and they'd be like, letter? What letter? What are you talking about? Acosta? No, you're lying. Now remember how much Dershowitz, was Giuffre v. Dershowitz, or Dershowitz versus Giuffre? But there was that, somebody was getting sued for saying that the other person lied. And I remember at the time thinking, is that even something that you can sue somebody for, just for saying that you're a liar? I mean, isn't it the type of thing? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I've spoken to judges about in court where they just basically go like, internet fighting words, that's nothing. And and that part of the case is over. So like, seemed weird to me that the whole lawsuit was just over saying somebody lied, because it was Giuffre v. Dershowitz. See, that was a lawfare case, I was watching Megyn Kelly, and she defends some of the weirdest people. She loves Dan Bongino. She was defending Dan Bongino. She likes Dershowitz. She thinks Dershowitz is great. It's strange. Lawyers have this kind of like, I think I've described it before. We did one day when I was running 21st Century 3D, when they started bringing back Jurassic Park movies and making them in 3D. They took the original Jurassic Park and made it into 3D, and they wanted to make a little documentary about how that was done. So we got to interview Steven Spielberg, and my 3D camera was, my crew was shooting it. So we met and worked with Spielberg for a day. And I mean, people were just like, oh yeah, Spielberg is coming. Everybody got crazy, because obviously he's super famous, and anybody who wanted to be making movies since they were a kid was like, oh my God, we're going to meet Spielberg. And people just get crazy about Dershowitz. Lawyers get that way. They're like, oh, Dershowitz. I just think he's an asshole. Really? Here, let's go in here. We haven't been in here in a while. But Megyn Kelly was defending Dershowitz, defending Bongino, and they're like, oh, I know him. There's no way he could lie. Oh, really? I mean, how well do you know him? And by the way, how many people have been married to somebody who then, after whatever number of years, you find out they're lying to you? There was a component of that today, right? With Trump. Like when you walk in on somebody, or when you have a girlfriend or something who's cheating on you, and you're like, no. And then it sort of all hits you, and then all kinds of stuff makes sense as you look back. Or maybe somebody working for your company who's stealing from you or something like that, and you don't find out about it for a long time. That sort of stuff happens, and then you feel so betrayed, I think a lot of people are feeling like that right now. So again, I mean, look, we're not in court with him. We can't prove that he did this or that, but he is kind of giving up on what he promised he would do. These files, everybody's got to release files, right? Musk had his out release that on the show, but when that came out, that was 5 weeks after I to tell Musk that all of the place. This was November. Nobody knew about that. I mean, maybe people watching Crowdsource the Truth did, but that wasn't in the mainstream. And George's asshole brother was sending emails to legal@twitter.com, who was that? That was Jim Baker. So do we really think that Elon Musk didn't know? I see Elon Musk responding to Twitter accounts that have 3,000 viewers. Some guy took delivery of a Tesla, and it was like, oh, and Elon Musk commented on it. I was like, wait a minute, I have like 75,000 people here on X, and I did a live stream using Starlink from inside a Tesla, and he didn't see that? I served him at his damn house with a lawsuit. You're telling me he doesn't know who I am? And what's going on with Goodman versus the city of New York? And the Twitter coup? I've tweeted that Twitter coup article at him dozens of times. You're telling me he doesn't know who Valerie Caproni is? He doesn't know who Adam Sharp is, doesn't know that Barack Obama weaponized Twitter. 2010, they had that Cuban version of Twitter paid for by USAID. How does he not know? I don't believe it. So I don't know. I mean, at a certain point, it's not like Trump or Musk, or, you know, Republicans or America Party. It just seems like everybody and everything is a damn cover-up. Doesn't it? Am I gonna get hit by that fire truck? Or the bus? Take your pick, fire truck or bus. Which would hurt more? That's what it is, right? It's, do you want to get run over by the fire truck or the bus? It doesn't really matter. You're still flat at the end of the day. Pretty bad. You know, I don't know. Even as filthy and shitty as it is, sometimes I just walk through New York City and hear music like that, even if you don't like that music. I don't know, I just like it. It's the energy. Everybody's running around. Just run me over with a bicycle or a fire truck at any moment. I'm a bit disgusted with Donald Trump. I don't know what to say. Pam Bondi, she was so stupid in that press conference as well. She's like, well, yeah, because I felt like I was talking to my cousin when we were 5. I've told this story to Charles. My grandmother had these like ceramic dogs, and me and my cousins were playing in the room, and one of my cousins broke one of them, and my uncle comes in and he's like, what the hell happened to the ceramic dog? And my cousin's like, oh, lightning came in the window. And I was 5, and I was like, there's no way he's buying that. And that's what Pam Bondi was doing today. She was like, oh, yeah, every evidence video has a minute cut out of it. It's, that's normal, but the previous stuff proves what it was that we were trying to prove. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about, Pam Bondi? You're like a mushmouth right now. That was such a poor performance. I want to go back and look at that and just see what Marco Rubio, he had the look on his face that I had when my uncle was yelling at my cousin. He's like, well, nobody's buying that. Such stupid crap. I noticed that Laura Loomer was on a tear saying that they now should fire Pam Bondi. I wonder if Pam Bondi should worry about that. Laura's been kind of effective at those sort of tweet campaigns, destroying people's careers. It has happened. So, yeah, let's see. What are people saying here in the chat? Quicksilver was married to a Class A liar. Yeah, it's shocking when you learn, right? I've told people the story how my ex-wife said to me, I lied to you because I thought the truth would upset you. And I just said to myself, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the reason they invented lying. I don't know that that's a really good excuse. At least she was mapping out the logic for me there. Bongino has always been a huge Israel supporter. Right, so see, that's the other issue. And look, it's undeniable. I was in a Twitter space the other day, and people, and Dershowitz was like, oh, Epstein had nothing to do with intelligence. Really? Okay, so why is the FBI helping him cover everything up? Why is he hanging out with Ehud Barak? Why does he have a Saudi passport? And he owns an island, and Donald Barr hired him to work at Dalton. Charles points out all the anomalous stuff about his financial career. So here's the thing. Everybody is like, oh, Epstein was Mossad, so the Jews did everything. I'm not denying that Epstein absolutely does appear to have been a Mossad agent or operative or something like that. Again, I don't know. So I don't like to jump to these conclusions. I like to evaluate the evidence. One thing that is interesting is all the people in this who are adjacent to Iran-Contra, including Trump, and the Mossad, and the CIA, and Bill Barr, and Donald Barr, and Adnan Khashoggi. There was some facts that came out I forget where I heard this. Somebody, oh, it must have been Mike Cyber-Benz. He's a dick, but he has some good information. He was talking about how Jeffrey Epstein took over some aspect of Adnan Khashoggi's weapons trading business. And remember, Trump bought Adnan Khashoggi's yacht, and then Al-Walid bought that. And now Al-Walid was a big owner of Twitter and said how, Elon Musk was his new friend. I see that video I forgot to show the other day. I wanted to show that, where he was saying, oh, thank you, my new friend, Elon Musk. Where was that one? Maybe I didn't load it in. Yeah, I don't know. But that's very interesting to me, because that also involved Bill Clinton, right? Bill Clinton pardoned Mark Rich. We have to go back, and that's why I don't like to jump to conclusions, because people are just like, oh, Epstein, he's Jewish, Robert Maxwell was Mossad, it's all the Jews. Well, I'm not saying Mossad isn't involved. I'm saying that's just one element of this. Because remember, that was the other thing in Iran-Contra. Somehow the deal of selling the weapons to Iran went through Israel. So another thing that a lot of people like to say is like, oh, Israel controls the government. I don't know if that's correct. Because how do we then explain how all this globalist power structure existed, World War I to World War II? Israel didn't exist. I think that Zionism and Nazism, see, they always want to create these two polarized sides, right? Like right now, Israel, Palestine, or in Black Lives Matter, black and white, they want two polarized sides to be fighting with each other, so that while everybody is distracted by that fighting, they can be busily involved in doing whatever they're doing, causing 9/11 or World War II or whatever the hell it is that they're trying to do. But I personally think that Israel was created, modern Israel was created and put there where it is, in order for the United States and the United Kingdom and France, NATO, the Western powers, whatever you want to call it, to exert influence there in the Middle East. And I also tried to say this on the Twitter space the other day, and this person who was insisting that Epstein had nothing to do with Mossad, kind of in a similar way to way Dershowitz was going crazy saying he had nothing to do with intelligence, she was like, oh, when was oil discovered in Saudi Arabia? When was oil discovered in Iran? 1902, 19 this, 19 that. It's like, look, I don't care, that doesn't matter. What I'm talking about is, when did everybody start owning a car and flying on a plane for $399 round trip? That wasn't until like the 1940s, 50s, 60s. That's when oil and gas, that's when energy became the master resource. And also, what happened right after that in the 1970s, when Richard Nixon took the US dollar off of the gold standard and created the petrodollar. So what I'm getting at is the creation of Israel is about exerting Western power in the Middle East and being able to bomb Iran when the United States, or whoever the United States allies there who control oil are, want to bomb it. People are like, Jews control everything, Israel controls everything. Okay, I'm Jewish, so people are going to say, oh, well, Jason is saying that because he's biased, but no. It's because the other explanation doesn't make any sense. And I see a lot of people who hate Jewish people who want to intellectually justify that hatred, pointing to people like Epstein and whatever. So, I think the reason we're not finding out about it is because whatever he was doing was so critically important to the power structure of our intelligence agencies, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, military operations that we don't know about or hear about in other countries and stuff like that. They don't want to tell you how they do that. I think they want to preserve the ability to do that stuff. So they're just going to make this all go away. Where is Acosta? They just 86, whoever it is that is talking too much. And so Gafri, hit by a car and dead. Obviously, she's not going to talk. I was never very convinced by her. And by that, I'm not saying I doubt that she was an Epstein victim. Obviously, we see those photos and everything like that. But wasn't there some bit of information that she started underage but stayed with them past when she was 18 and no longer a minor, and at a certain point she became a co-conspirator. I think something like that was going on in all these Dershowitz lawsuits, and they were, again, just like that weird letter to Acosta where it's talking not only about the criminal charges but how it's going to impact people's ability to bring civil litigation. That's what Acosta was pissed off about, was that 18 USC 2255, whatever it is. It's complicated again, but people should dig into that, or lawyers should help us understand that, how it somehow prevented civil lawsuits from coming against him. So they just didn't want any information whatsoever about that coming out. It wasn't just about, getting Epstein out of jail. Because, by the way, he had $500 million. If he was a regular person, he could tolerate a hell of a lot of civil litigation and pay people, millions of dollars at a time to kind of like forget about it and go away. But they just didn't want testimony and depositions and, people to give all kinds of factual statements in court. UK. Right. I mean, this is a vast global conspiracy. It's not just Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy, right? What's going on there? They let him go too. Basically, right? Another pile of manure. Cindy Minnie says, how can I stay in New York? Yeah, I know, it's pretty bad. I guess I'm just, hung up on once was, stuck in the past. I do need to leave. But then how would people be able to see the grimy grit of what's going on? Look, Chick-fil-A, that's disgusting. I know a lot of people like it, but oh yeah, the other thing that comes up is In-N-Out Burger. Remember that weird stuff with Ghislaine Maxwell at In-N-Out Burger? We never really ran that down. They were more interested in threatening me. See, that's another anomalous situation. Their lawyer threatened not just to sue me. He said, oh, we're going to call the cops because you recorded a phone call and California is a single-party consent state. I sent some letter back to that guy saying, California is a two-party consent state, meaning that you can't record the phone call without them knowing. So he was threatening me with, wiretapping crap. That's something that an idiot in Pennsylvania did as well. Stupid cop. But the point of the matter is, people like that like to threaten people. In the case of the lawyer for the hamburger restaurant, I sent him some kind of letter about how, isn't it a violation of the code of conduct, the professional conduct, to threaten somebody with criminal prosecution to settle a civil matter, and I'm ready to test your theory in court. And the guy went away. I believe, I don't want to boast about this too much, but from the standpoint of suing Jason Goodman personally, I've become a pretty hardened target for lawfare. George's brother is still trying to get back to the false corporate entities. That's what all this motion in the appellate court is about. He's trying to, reintroduce crap that you're not allowed to reintroduce on appeal. And so, I don't know, I think I could be pretty close to getting him knocked out of the box. We're just down the road with part 2 of Nina. She started part 2. Like I said, at a certain point I decided I've tried everything I can do. I'm just going to let this thing expire and forget about it. But then she started up the fight again. It really wasn't smart. See, I'm not trying to start fights. You notice with Dershowitz, I was being friendly until he called me an idiot. But when people fight with me, I do sometimes have to end the fights. Bentley, what's that thing called? A Bention or something? Some weird, hard to pronounce name. That's good if you have $250,000 for an SUV. So yeah, I don't know. Pretty disappointing outcome with Trump on the Epstein files there. I don't know if I want to run for much more than an hour here. How are people feeling? I hope that people will become sponsors. It's becoming increasingly difficult. You know, losing Odyssey was a big hit. People say just have an exit plan. NYC is beyond crazy. Well, it's going to get worse once we get moron Mandami. And it does seem like they're going to cheat and put him in there as the mayor. George's brother was sending letters to the Mandami campaign. I don't know why he thinks I care about that. I walked right up to the guy's face and told him he was an idiot. Send him all the emails you want. In-N-Out Burger, those are good burgers. Shut up, Donnie. Yeah, Big Lebowski is good. I don't like In-N-Out. I've eaten there in LA. I think it's disgusting. But, you know, do people know that it was started by an army guy and it's privately owned, and the daughter, all the kids were drug addicts or had drug problems, and one of them died in a plane crash? There's all kinds of very, very strange stuff going on with In-N-Out Burger. And then when Ghislaine Maxwell was there, they had that weird Photoshop retouching of the image that never got explained. I called the lawyer. Now, something came up today. Ken Silva had a piece of information that I hadn't seen before, where apparently some phone call was made by Jeffrey Epstein in the last hours of his life to person number one, and they said that she was in some foreign country or something. And what was weird is, you know, when I called Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney the first time, I mentioned this to her on the phone call. I had called her the day before, and the phone rang with that foreign ringtone, like when you take your cell phone to another country. Seems like she was out of the country. I don't know what that means. Again, I want to avoid trying to draw too many conclusions. I just want to present people with all the different evidence that I have and let people draw their own conclusions. That's crowdsourcing the truth. I'm not here to tell people the truth because I don't necessarily know it. I'm trying to solve a mystery here. Now, I've been seeing a lot of these Fisker Karmas around, or as a Fisker Ocean. I think they're dumping them on some taxi company because they can't sell them. Because the economics of making those kind of cars are not good. Look, it's got to be difficult. So then the other thing is, people say, oh, you know, Elon Musk said that Trump is in the Epstein files. Well, he is. We know he is. There's videos of him hanging out with Epstein, talking in his ear. He's been deposed about Epstein, interviewed about Epstein. We know he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. So what are the Epstein files? I mean, is that just in general talking about every file that the FBI has about the guy? Uh-oh, what's going on in the park? Ambulance? Is that just every single FBI file that they have on the guy? Because, I mean, is that the same as the client list? So the other thing is, you got to remember, the FBI is a lot of lawyers. When they say there is no client list, I mean, that might be true. You would imagine somebody's not sitting around, here's a list of all the people doing insane crimes. I mean, there's a group of people, but are they on an actual list? I don't know. And then you have the black book. Is that the list? And so is just somebody putting your address in a book, does that implicate you in a crime necessarily? That doesn't seem, fuck you. That doesn't seem fair necessarily. Look, there's all these ambulances here. So that's the thing. Lawyers, they get very prickly with words. And so I did that to Nina. I mean, if we're gonna stipulate stuff, it's got to be clear, right? And I mean, I wasn't being a jerk about it. I'm saying, you said I'm not allowed to post about her. Well, what does that mean? You were not sufficiently specific. Because about can be a preposition. It can have all these different meanings depending on the context. And without contextualizing it clearly, it leaves the thing open for interpretation. It leaves this protective order open for interpretation in a way that's constitutionally unsound. It implicates, you know, First Amendment rights. We've got to be clear. There's a lot of case law that talks about this. So I think I was able to make a pretty strong case, put that before the judge. We'll see what she says. We got some kind of shoot going on. Very interesting. Oh yeah, I wanted to show everybody the mini Stonehenge. It's not a mini Stonehenge at all. I guess they were taking up stones when they were building it to get them out of there. It's a garden. It's all right. It's getting overgrown already. It's been there for a few weeks. But it's like a little just walking path garden in the middle of the park. I mean, people who are living somewhere where there's actual woods will find it ridiculous. But given that it's in the middle of a concrete park, it's interesting. Here, this is a drain the swamp. Man-made swamp. Kind of like DC. I don't know, what do people think about this? Have I hit on anything intriguing today? Thought-provoking, perhaps? Flight logs, exactly. So there's all kinds of different lists. And I mean, I've never been terribly impressed with that flight log. Now, wait a minute. Oh, no, that's not the entrance. This is. Yeah, so it's this little kind of walking path garden. The flight logs, it never impressed me because it's just a thing written in pencil. Anybody could write that. It's not like anybody even signed it. Hi, this rock invites you to talk to people. Are you guys twins?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's amazing that you noticed.
Twins on a rock. The rock literally has a sign that says, sit here if you're interested in. It's the Garden of Renewal. Sitting on this rock bench is an invitation for connection. If you are sitting here, it's because you are open to conversation with a fellow human. Please be kind. I hope I abided by that rule. Spoke to those twin ladies. Thank you, Eric. That's kind of you to say. Yeah, there is no list, so that's the thing. So they're getting lawyerly with their language over there at the FBI, and people are like, what? What do you mean there's no list? We expected a list. I mean, what people really mean is, why the hell aren't you prosecuting some of the people that were involved in this? Make a damn list. Check it twice, and get all the people who were naughty. And it's a good point. Like, how is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail? Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail if Epstein was able to suicide himself? And look, at this point, we also have to acknowledge, you know, maybe first-term Trump, he didn't know much about DC and being president or whatever, but we're past that now. We're supposed to be through the bullshit. But yet it just seems to be now another layer of bullshit. How's the dog park doing? They're not barking that much today, which is a little unusual. That dog there is king of the hill. Oh, but here comes the bigger dog. Time to leave. See, there's always a bigger dog. That's the thing. Trump, there's always a bigger dog. Who that is, we might not necessarily know. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what the hell Elon Musk is up to. My opinions of these people are formed basically by my personal interactions with them, you know? Elon Musk said in May of 2022 that he's not going to fight. There was some kind of lawsuit with a flight attendant who said that he did something sexual to her, and so he paid her, but then he was protesting publicly saying it never happened, but he was advised that, you know, it's just less expensive and make it go away or whatever. And so he had a public tweet where he said, I'm never gonna, what did he say? He's never gonna fight a justified lawsuit or settle an unjustified lawsuit. And I said, well, all right, that sounds pretty good for me, because I've got a justified lawsuit, so he shouldn't be fighting it. But I guess he didn't say anything about dodging service and acting like a hobo, because that's what he did for 6 months. Finally got him served. I don't know, did I go into all these details with people? Found his home. I also don't believe that, by the way. What is he doing living in this 1,200 square foot home? I mean, I think that's just a bed near the rocket place for when he's doing rocket stuff. I'm sure he's got hotel rooms and condos and all kinds of, I mean, probably even just interior of his personal jet is probably way nicer than most people's house. So I think he's kind of full of shit. He's also on appeal in the Second Circuit, Goodman versus the City of New York. I've spoken about that a bit. I'm really very interested in getting George's brother to piss off and go away permanently. That would be a nice thing after 8 years of being annoyed by that asshole. But let's see, any last comments before I wrap up here? Yeah, I thought those twins were friendly. Videos are clear evidence or proof. Well, right, where are the videos? Remember, John Mark Dougan said, here's another aspect to this that I put on Twitter, on X. John Mark Dougan was interacting, or not directly, but that detective Ricari, what was his first name? I forget Ricari's first name. But he was with the Palm Beach County Police, and he was a detective investigating at Epstein's mansion and had DVD-Rs with videos. And remember, Dougan, before he escaped, because he says the FBI was trying to kill him, and I can believe it, he had to escape to Russia, but he was running anonymous whistleblower sites. Oh, I forgot to show this. Anonymous whistleblower sites that allowed people to upload evidence, WikiLeaks style, and Ricari put videos from Epstein's mansion on that server, and then the FBI came and raided John Mark Dougan and took all of his servers. We got to talk to Dougan about that again. But so here's the last thing I wanted to show. That letter that Dershowitz was all bent out of shape about, it was sent to this guy. So this is attorney for Jeffrey Epstein, had a prior relationship with the prosecutor in the case. This is outrageous. So there's Acosta, and this dude is the guy who got the letter from Dersh, one of the guys. And it was a member of Epstein's defense team, had a relationship with him. This lawyer, Lily Ann Sanchez, had a relationship with Matthew Menschel, that's the guy in the picture, in 2003 when they both worked for the Southern District of Florida's U.S. Attorney's Office. So that is like so crazy on so many levels, not just that the dude was having sex with somebody who is a lawyer for Epstein. The defense lawyer for Epstein used to work in the prosecutor's office. So wait a minute, doesn't that mean she knows all about the evidence? How is that allowed? That to me is maybe the more explosive part of that article that's not even in the headline. I guess it's more kind of sensational to talk about them having a romantic relationship, but Jeffrey Epstein's defense attorneys had previously worked for the Department of Justice as prosecutors. How can that be allowed? So that's the thing. I mean, you know, Trump fires a few people here or there. We still have Maureen Comey working at the Southern District of New York. How do we allow that? We still have Valerie Caproni as a judge. We still have James Boasberg as a judge. We still have Amir Ali, Dale Ho, Annalisa Torres, John Colt. All these judges have just brazenly defied the Constitution. They continue to do it. That's the thing, we're getting nowhere. It's almost like, look, I don't want to minimize the crimes that Epstein did, but at a certain point, that stuff happened 20 years ago. The damage is done and nobody's doing anything about it. These judges, these prosecutors, they're still in there, still harming people. Look, there's another one of those Fisker Oceans. Like I said, they're dumping these on some taxi company because they can't sell them. But I mean, you know, Doug Mackey, he's still having his rights abused by these same prosecutors. And again, I'm not saying, oh, Epstein, forget about it. I'm saying, by forgetting about it, you're allowing the same people who caused that to happen to continue to cause more of that same kind of stuff to happen. So that's more reason to not forget about it. Why aren't we changing the law so that if you've been a prosecutor with the Department of Justice, you can't go and defend? I don't know. I don't know how you would protect against that. It just seems like a loophole that scumbag lawyers are going to take advantage of. And there's no shortage of scumbag lawyers, I'll tell you that. Seems like most of them. Conflict of interest, absolutely. I missed that dog. Anyway, everybody, that is the video for today. Wanted to rant and rave a little bit about that incredibly disappointing performance from Trump. Methinks he doth protest too much. He's like, Epstein, why are you talking about Epstein? He's a loser, he's a bum. Why are we still talking about Epstein? We got much more important stuff than Epstein. Forget about it. Why are you bringing that up? It's like, hey, Trump. I don't know what to say there. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. If you aren't already a sponsor of the show, please become one on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. Read the transcript from Jankowicz v. Goodman. That's exclusive content, never been released publicly before today. You can read that now. I'm trying to think of how I can make an AI video out of that. You know, it's a pretty long transcript. It would be a lot of work, but I don't know, would people be interested in seeing that, an AI video of me cross-examining Nina? I cross-examined her. I asked her questions about Ukraine. The judge was getting pretty pissed off. She was like, Mr. Goodman, you know, the scope of this cross-examination is getting far afield from the, you know, whatever it is they wanted to talk to me about, the restraining order. But it's an interesting transcript to read. People can decide. Am I right? Is Nina a bitch? You decide. Get onto Substack, get onto Subscribestar, get onto patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, any of those. You can also get it in the articles tab on X. If you subscribe, that's a cute little dog. At JG_CSTT on X. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great